life is really a double-edged sword when you live with someone who is also as psychic and aware as you are. And so this way, I want to talk a little bit and chat a little bit about being some of our out of balance aspects, especially around the prophetic and the visionary gifts. So, welcome, Tom.
Hello, Teresa.
And also, it's interesting how whenever you're doing something in your life, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, God source, will put things in place for you to really understand things at a deeper level. It's kind of like whenever, there's alcoholics that are then in charge of AAA or come as one of, as a person who backs someone with their alcoholism. Like we've been through it, we understand. So that's the exciting part about, for myself, living with Tom, who really understands the inbalance, out of balance aspects around our gifts of intuition, which we do share a lot about in our Intuitive Now classes every month. And so today we just had a situation come up around out of balance prophecy, which the prophetic gift we actually hit on earlier this month in one of our Intuition Now classes. So we really want to come on and share a bit about how interesting it is when these out of balance things come into play. So you want to set up the situation, Tom?
Sure. Yeah, we recently put on a Intuition Now expansion into the gift of prophecy. And, we have four spiritual gifts. These are part of your soul nature, and it's how we communicate. And also, when we talk about being in balance, we're talking about um, being in balance with our intellect and our feelings, our true feelings, because that's my inner wisdom is in my feelings, and that's different than emotion. So that's just a quick little reminder and background. Now, our four gifts are also how we receive those impressions, and we all have all four gifts: prophecy, vision, intuition, and feeling. But we work with them in a specific order. So we're focusing a bit on the prophetic part of us,
Which we just did our class on this month.
yeah, which we just did the class on. So, uh, it's very interesting. Now, why would you want to know this? And how do we make this practical? Well, this morning we had a situation where Teresa was coming up with all kinds of ideas and she's picking up impressions. And, one of the things that struck me was, I, I relate to some of the impressions she was picking up, but she was very, let's say it was high energy. It's like all sensitivity. Oh, blah, 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 we get out and I'm not feeling this. And, and I had just gotten up on a Sunday morning after a gig last night, and I was having my cup of coffee on a quiet Sunday morning, sort of. And, and the part I love about Teresa is that she is really open to spirit. She tunes in early in the morning to new ideas and new ways to go. So in the past, what I would have done, and I did partly this morning, is because she's my beautiful wife, I just sit there and I sort of let it go on and I sort of persevere through all this. And yet, I did something different today in that I went, we're just all souls here, learning and growing. I just kind of tuned back into my bigger picture of who I really am. And really in a second or two, I just kind of did my little quick little technique. And I asked my guidance, okay, so what's my opportunity here? Or, instead of reacting and trying to, um, say, hey, shut up, you're talking too much. I'm trying to have my coffee, or which isn't really my nature, or persevere through it. Like, okay, I'm going to sit here with a smile, but, uh, and what I picked up from my spiritual helpers, this is in real time, was that, it's just out of balance prophecy, because there's all these great creative ideas, very, very spontaneous creative. It reminds me of people whose first gift is prophecy, where, they really pick up on the future and what's coming and where there's energy for a project and where there isn't. In addition, Teresa's a spearhead, we say, from an energy perspective. I'm more of a communicator, implementer, and kind of a consolidator. And so she's great to work with because she can spearhead, these new ideas. But in terms of the prophetic part, it hit me like a prophetic who is in balance, when they come up with all these ideas, all they have to do is create a plan, sit down, and write a step-by-step plan because all this energy, and you share how you felt, but it seemed to me like all this energy is just going out into all these things she's talking about and they're good ideas, a lot of them. As a visionary, I'm kind of tuned into the timing and I'm feeling like the timing's a bit off with what she's saying, but she's not clear on that at that particular point. So, it was great because my guidance shared that with me. I shared it with her. I went, really, we just need something to put all that energy into, which is let's have a little planning session and write down our priorities and so forth. And immediately she went, oh, kind of, quieted down. And that whole emotional energy was just dissipated, but in a positive way. Why don't you share it from your perspective?
Yeah, so I recognize it's interesting because the gift of prophecy is my last gift. Is that right? Yes, my last
Aren't
gift.
you?
Yeah, so in the Intuition Now classes as well as our one-on-one sessions, we talk a lot about the four gifts and we talk about how they're in a specific order. And again, like Tom was mentioning, how you communicate with your spiritual helpers. So my first gift is the gift of being an intuitive or that clairaudient. And my prophetic gift is actually the last gift in my gift order. But as I share with people often in these classes we offer, and also the one-on-one sessions, is that but we have the opportunity to unfold these to 100%. So my gift of prophecy shows up quite often, and it is like I'm all over the place. It's almost like if you guys have read my book, I often say in the book, I say that I've been a hot, energetic mess in the past, and this truly is, I feel, part of my prophetic gift because I'm all over the place. It can be ideas. Back when I had a family, it really was running the kids from here to here, and then I've got to do this and that, and like I was all over the place. And again, like Tom was mentioning, some of it can be very, good. I mean, like, I didn't have bad intentions, but I'm just all over the place. And so these days, in making this practical and this part of us practical, it has helped me to, really come together with, okay, so what do I do when I've got an idea about the podcast, about the YouTube, about our, TNT Spirit Works? What do I do with all that? Well, if I don't get my facts, which is from my intuitive gift, getting the facts, that again, when I do, that helps me relax. It helps me with more balance. It helps me really streamline all of those thoughts that are going all over the places into a direction. So for myself, understanding these abilities, understanding how to work with them in a practical way has really made, I mean, it makes a difference between combo and holy crap, she's all over the place all the time, or honing in on, okay, yeah, I'm all over the place. It called me out on it. Yes. Oh my God, that direction feels so good with sitting down and doing a strategy session of, what can we do with our YouTube? What can we do with the podcast? What can we do? And then honing in all that creative energy, because it really is creative. I mean, so if you're high in prophecy, which there are a lot of people that are that's their first way of communicating. But even like me, who's, that's my, it's not my first way, but it's really prevalent. So gathering all that insight and all that energy and using it to be practical and to not let it drive you crazy because it could drive me crazy. And it has in the past where I've been all over the place with things. What do you want to say about that?
Well, and prophetic, uh, when a prophetic is in balance, they can make an outstanding executive because they really have that sense for the future. They're picking up the energy in the future and future ideas, very spontaneous. They love to be creative and spontaneous. And all Teresa needed to do in that situation was organize her sensitivity. So in other words, in her feeling part, her prophetic inner knowings and those premonitions and hunches about where things are heading, was, quite clear. But she has a habit, you might say, not to pick on her, but this is what we all do, she has a habit of not getting organized with it. So she's just been somebody in her first 7 years or in her environment, either her mother or father, probably, or somebody that raised her, would begin to just go, oh, I haven't that, and I know we got to do that. And instead of, she's been, you might say, conditioned that way. So it's a habit, but and she'll probably say, if she's honest, when she's out of balance, it doesn't really feel good. How did it feel when you were out of balance and sharing all that?
Well, it feels chaotic. It feels scattered. I feel very scattered. I don't feel like I have no direction because it's all over the place.
So, the key is that recognizing the sensitivity there and trusting it because she's super sensitive. Uh, and in our society, women are allowed to, use their intuition a bit more than men, although that's beginning to change. And be emotional and all that. So it's kind of a learned pattern. But in her true feelings, she just was like, oh, picking this up. Let's get the facts. And of course, her intuitive gift is all about understanding. So it works with that still small voice and just getting the basic what, when, where, and why. And so once we have that, all that anxiety and all that nervous, like the energy has to be channeled.
Right. So, like I began this podcast with saying how interesting it is to live with a psychic person that's very aware and can call me out on things, but it is such a blessing because I'm able to, once Tom honed in on, really where I was at, what was going on, and a direction, and he gave me some, a suggestion of what we could do, I calmed down.
Yep.
Like I calmed right down. I'm like, yeah,
Amazing.
feels great. I would love to sit down and do a session where we just kind of, um, jot down everything and do like a plan forward versus being just all over the place.
Yeah. And I think that, the example in my first 7 years was, say my father just telling my mother she's crazy, or that, men will deny the woman's sensitivity, but the woman knows she's spot on with her sensitivity because, they've been allowed to trust it more over time, And anyways, it was good for me because my habit is just to persevere with it and pretend that I'm enjoying this, when in fact, and I knew there was some truth there, but then I'll reiterate that I went back into my inner feelings and just kind of rechecked with my guidance, what's my opportunity here? What is spirit suggesting? And then it was just so simple, like, oh, we just need to organize that. And I feel good with it too, because there were quite a few ideas she had, which in a way, if I accepted that pressure, like, oh my God, how are we going to do all this? And wait, we just come up with a plan. So we're clear about the timing and, we work one step at a time. So,
Absolutely. And this was also
yeah,
a good thing we want to share today because it's really about making these unseen, oftentimes people put the labels on mystical, woo woo, magic. It's not. These are aspects of us that yes, are unseen a lot of the times, right? You can't see the fact that you have an inner feeling. You can't see, someone can't see that they're hearing something. You might get a vision from your third eye. You might see that, or also those just knowings. But recognizing that there's nothing magical, mystical, or woo-woo about this. This is what each person on the planet has within them. And so gathering those insights and working with people like us or other people that have put things together for themselves that really understand the truth and the wisdom behind working with these amazing pieces of us is, for myself, it's been life changing.
yeah. And, we talk about planet Earth as a school where an advanced school where, souls come to learn and grow. And so, this lifetime, I chose to be a visionary first. So there's something there for me to heal and practice and gain more experience. And is probably the big key. And for yourself, you chose to be an intuitive. Well, that's interesting because you have had probably lifetimes of sensitivity, that we've tuned into and working with your sensitivity. But this lifetime, you're really working, probably you check it out. But, I wonder if you just, this is a lifetime to get organized, get organized with the sensitivity
Yeah.
herself so that the organization isn't being imposed upon her, by someone else. So, uh, anyways, it just, life's a learning experience. It's like peeling the layers of an onion. And, I get my prophetic part works in a certain way. And we all have tendencies of when we move in balance and when we move out of balance. So this was just a great, time to kind of share with people how we make it practical. Because in a way, it's like a marriage saver. I mean, it's a difference for me between suffering through life and just persevering and putting up with it, or looking for solutions and moving forward in my relationships with others. Because if it wasn't Teresa, there'd be somebody else in my life that I would attract that would be out of balance in their feelings. And so it's could be a consistent situation for me until I begin to recognize, and also I'm attracting part of it. So if I there's something else I wanted to share that came to me this morning. Is there anything else you want to share about what we're talking about here
Um,
before I do that?
no, go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so one of the things that struck me about sensitivity, and this is kind of advanced sensitivity training, you might say, this little tidbit here, is that often we pick up in our prophetic part, things that are going to eventuate in our future, in the sense of, there's no guarantees because people have free will and the energy can shift, but there's probabilities, and you can feel the probability, or you have backing, spiritual backing in a certain area. And one of the things we've been sharing about is that when I focus on what I'm getting out of the opportunity I'm in spiritually, like, it transforms the experience. So recently I got involved in some seasonal retail, and I was really focusing on being in balance through all my transaction with people of all sorts of different states of consciousness and moods, and how they felt at that particular time. And of course, being seasonal, there was a challenge to deal with a lot of people. So, I just set my goal every day to stay in balance and not get stressed and not accept pressure, but still maintain that feeling of service, and a business-like quality. Why don't you?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, and I totally relate to this. Did you call it advanced discernment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sensitivity.
Advanced sensitivity. So really recognizing, what's coming, getting a sense of through your, your four gifts, either a knowing or vision or hearing or that feeling that something's coming. Because I've had a lot of that in the last couple of years. And I recognize in myself that the one key, and it's something I'd like to share on this that's really important is, well, there's actually two things. One is just being in the present, just staying in what am I working with right now? Because what I'm working with right now is going to help shape what's coming. Now, whether or not that vision or whether or not that knowing that, oh my gosh, I know there's a new job or I know there's a new this, whether or not that comes into, fruition in the way I saw it or felt it, but knowing that what I'm doing today in this moment is supporting what's coming next. And also, what's the other thing I'm going to say? There's that, and there's one more piece, and it just flew out. But maybe that was the main piece I was meant to share.
That was a great piece. I mean, that's what I was sharing about. And we talked a little bit about that in other podcast episodes. But one of the things that occurred to me from my guidance this morning was, as we were sharing this and working with spirit, and we shifted our energy to, hey, let's take that energy and come up with a plan. Then as we were talking a bit about that over breakfast, it hit me. Sometimes we try to discern things before it's ready. In other words, what that means to me, and you can relate to it your way. What does it mean to you, or how do you experience this? But for me, it's trying to have all the facts, like, over organized. So that would be my tendency when I'm picking something that's coming up. And I wanted to fit my picture, because my first gift is the gift of vision. I wanted to fit some perfect picture. And so there's times when I'm got a feeling for something is probably the best way, or an impression about something that's, where I'm headed, and it helps me feel secure, or that, and they always come true. I mean, it's amazing to me how, even as much as I go, oh, I'm not sure, I have enough experience that I know it's going to, come into play. But there is this aspect for me of just trying to over discern something or over organize something before it's really ready. And so my solution is to go ahead and move into be in the present, like you bring up, be in the present. What do I need to do right now? What do I need to schedule next? And let me do that thing first. And then it kind of unfolds what I need to do better next, or the more facts unfold, or more uh, information comes through.
I came up with number two.
Yeah, what is it?
So number two is no matter what I'm sensing, feeling, hearing, or knowing, let it go. To not be attached to what has come forth in my psychic area. Because I found that whenever I have a vision or I have a feeling or knowing, if I get attached to that, again, it can change, right? Like something else might come into, another door may open that I had no idea about. So letting go of what I think it's going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. No, just let spirit and let the universe and everything just kind of work with where I'm at and what's coming. That was letting go, being present and letting go.
Yeah, and just incorporating it and taking notes. And uh, in fact, how I'm making this practical is I know over the next couple of weeks, I have time to work on some more of our personal and business projects for TNT Spirit Works. And I picked up an impression from my guidance early last week, and I'm looking at another business opportunity. And in my quick morning meditation, in the stillness of the morning, after Teresa had gone to work,
What happens the most? Teresa's gone.
the on a winter morning, I pick up this impression of, anticipate, and I got that keyword, and so I sort of delved into it, and my guidance were suggesting that I start preparing a letter, a proposal. And even though I don't expect this to eventuate this business opportunity for a little while. And I thought, well, oh, that's interesting. Now I have to really trust and just go ahead and start doing it. And I did. And earlier in the week, I started preparing, I started researching the company a bit more. I started getting acclimated, oriented to the industry they're in and where things are at. And I know that's going to help me. And the only thing I have to watch for is this kind of sense of needing to be reassured about it, instead of just trusting. And as you say, as long as I'm in the present, and as I'm sharing, the part that my wisdom is that, one thing leads to another. So really, we're talking about how do I make all this practical? The fact that I'm psychic, I'm clairvoyant, I pick up inner knowings about the future. How do I work with it in a positive way? And what I probably really mean by that is how does it make my life better? How do I move forward more easily? And one of the things I've noticed with successful people is they just trust themselves. They trust their intuition. You can't talk them out of it. They're stubborn about it, and they don't care what you think and say. They're moving towards it.
Absolutely. So if you are interested in learning more about your psychic abilities and those types of perceptions that we've been talking about, make sure you do check out these show notes because we're going to have, we'd have a link in there for our Intuition Now class, which is a free 90-minute masterclass every month. And then also our expanded intuition class, Intuition Now class, which is once a month. And that's on each of the specific gifts. Like in early January, we did the gift of prophecy. Early February, we're going to be doing the gift of vision.
Yeah. And we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, it's great. They're great classes and great ways to expand and leave behind the woo-woo, the mystical, the magical, but really feel and really tune into what is that part within you and how to access it and make it practical.
Yeah. And for me, it's really just learning not to ignore what's always been there.
I like that.
Yeah. And instead of copying somebody else, or looking for those answers outside myself, I start to trust myself more. And, but there we go.
There you go. So
Kind of feel like we're wrapped up.
I think we're good. So we want to thank you. Want to thank you so very much for listening in or watching this episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. If you do like it, please feel free to share with friends, to like and subscribe. And we would love to hear from you, the comments of what gems you put together for yourself. How are you with your prophetic and visionary gift and your intuition, and also for your feeling gift? Let us know what's rocking for you and what you need some support in. We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you.
So until next week, just remember that Life is too short
to not be enthusiastic about your
unique journey.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.